Today we're going to talk about blood magic skill farms, how they work, how to make them, and which ones are the best. Let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the most reliable AFK farm for raising your blood magic skill, which is none other than a Grey Dwarf spawner farm. Now with this farm, the concept is super simple. If you've built a Grey Dwarf spawner farm in the past to gather endless wood and stone, the concept is almost entirely the same. You'll still want to mine the whole area out around the Grey Dwarf nest, and make sure to trim up the center pillar that holds the nest good enough that all the mobs are successfully coming down into the hole upon spawning. You can activate your skeletons while digging this area out to help keep the Grey Dwarfs at bay while you work. This will also start leveling up your blood magic right away. Once the area is all prepared, the next thing you'll need to do is place your skeletons. For optimal coverage, I set up the skeletons in what I call a crow's nest on each side. I used roofing to cover the platforms to keep wandering mobs out of their hut, and a beam across the front at a height that will hit their heads and keep them from falling off. All that's left to do is arm yourself with a butcher knife or turn on PvP and keep spawning skeletons until you get an archer. Repeat the same process for the other crow's nest, and then go seat yourself in a safe and warm hut next to a fire to make sure you stay rested. All you need to do is sit back and relax while your skill bar steadily rises. This farm raises your skill and gives you a bunch of different resources while you wait. It's 100% AFKable, and I've tested it by placing my character there for several hours without any issues. Now keep in mind, the Grey Dwarf nests are not the fastest spawners, and the XP received is not super great. So while this farm, out of all the farms I've tried, seems to be the most reliable with AFKing, it's not the most efficient. For a more efficient skill farm, we move on to farm number 2, the Body Pal Spawner Farm. Now this farm can be used in two different ways, either while AFK or more hands-on. The AFK version is a bit less efficient than the non-AFK method, however, it is much more efficient than the Grey Dwarf farm. To get started, you want to locate a Draugr village with at least one body pile inside. I chose to use a Draugr village instead of the swamps, since the swamps are close to sea level and full of indestructible items. To maximize safety while setting up the farm, once again deploy your skellies and protection shield to keep you safe. Construct a wall of dirt around the building holding the body pile to capture all the Draugr inside. You can do this in whatever shape you want, but I found a nice square works best. I also make sure that once I've torn down the building and exposed the body pile, I bury it in a bit of dirt so that it's not exposed to accidental damage. I found in testing that sometimes the skeleton archers will shoot off a wild arrow, and it will find its way to the body pile. Once the body pile takes a few hits, it will break, bringing an end to your skill farm. So it is my advice that you bury the body pile to prevent this. It will not affect the spawning of mobs, so why not keep it safe? It is also advisable not to use any area of effect weapons such as a sledgehammer or the Staff of Embers, as these both could destroy the body pile even when it's buried. Now that you have a sizable dirt arena, it's time to summon your skeleton archers and find a comfortable place to sit while your archers take out all the Draugr. Now this farm is not perfect, as the Draugr archers will eventually kill your skeleton. It just might take a bit of time, but does mean that the time in which you can AFK while gaining skill levels is limited. Now if you'd like to see the most efficient way to raise your blood magic skill, this farm here does have the ability to be the fastest skill farm, simply by changing the way you use it. Instead of using this as an AFK farm, jump into the pit and summon your skeleton. Make sure to cast a protection spell on each skeleton as soon as it's summoned. Doing this will quickly drain your health bar, but don't worry, as you're not intended to engage the battle yourself. Your only job is to keep the skeletons alive by shielding them. Keep running around or quickly climb back up the dirt wall and wait until one of their shields break. Then quickly locate the unprotected skeleton and cast a new protection spell on it. You can use the same two skeletons for your entire farming session, and in roughly an hour, level up your blood magic by 20 or more points. This method of skill farming is much more efficient than the AFK farm. Now the third and final skill farm is a non-AFKable farm, and is just as efficient as the second method of the second farm we reviewed, because it's pretty much the same without all of the prep work. To set up the quickest and most efficient skill farm in the game, all you need to do is locate any Draugr spawner. It's still best to bury it so it doesn't become damaged, and use the same method of summoning your skeletons and casting a protection spell on them while staying out of the battle yourself. You can also use the Grey Dwarf farm in much the same way, but it is still best to have the hole dug around it because the skeletons will eventually break the nest. With any of these farms, you can't go wrong in your journey to become a master necromancer. Now, if you'd like to see how to fight as a necromancer in the Mistlands, check out the video I have linked next. It'll give you everything you need to know.